Okay, hello. I'm going to go through what I would go through with you today if I was here. So we're going through what is biodiversity today. So here are some questions that I would like you to consider. What do you think is biodiversity? You've got 3 questions or 3 possible answers. I'd like you to pause the video and then think about what the answers are. Okay, I'm assuming you've paused it. Biodiversity is the rich variety of live organisms in every ecosystem on Earth. Why do we need biodiversity? Once again, pause the video. Okay, so we need biodiversity because it provides us with virtually all the things we need to stay alive. Whoopsie, sorry. I was supposed to not highlight this one, but which of the following places has the highest biodiversity? It's Madagascar and the Indian Ocean Islands. I wasn't really expecting you to know that. It was supposed to be the other way around. Oops. And how many biodiversity hotspots are there in the world? You're just going to try and guess if you think there's 12, 25, or 36. There are 36 biodiversity hotspots in the world. And what does endemic mean? You might have heard this term when COVID was coming around. Read the options. I'll give you a second to pause. Okay, so endemic means that a species is only found in one specific location. This can apply to diseases as well. And why is biodiversity under threat? I'm not even going to bother. It's under threat because of habitat destruction and the introduction of alien and invasive species. These are just 2 reasons. There are definitely more. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at today. This is Earth's geological time scale. So biodiversity has changed a lot from the dawn of time. Some of it has been because of natural causes, such as catastrophes. Here are some examples of a catastrophe that occurred. Changes in living conditions or micro changes that took millions of years to come into place. But over the last 200 years or so, there seems to be an acceleration in biodiversity loss, and it's caused by us. So, if we're going to think about the immense time period, it's going to get pretty complex. If we compare the 4.5 billion years of Earth's history to a 24-hour clock, the first human species only appeared 47 to 94 seconds before midnight, and our own species only appeared about 2 seconds before midnight. Okay, so we have not been around for a very long time in the grand scheme of things. Keep in mind, Earth has 4.5 billion years of history. I think someone in my other class talked about the discrepancy between millionaires and billionaires, and how millionaires is like a few seconds, or like a million seconds is only a few hours, but then billion is like 21 years or something. I feel like it was Clara, but yeah, definitely check that statistic out. So what is evolution? Evolution is a continuous and cumulative process. Cumulative means it keeps building up on each other, involving changes in heritable traits within populations and species. And these changes usually occur over a large period of time. However, sometimes they can be quite rapid. I would give you, you can pause this video and you can write this down now. So, theory of evolution, this was outlined by Charles Darwin. He was a botanist and a biologist. In 1859, he proposed the theory of evolution. He got his evidence from looking at fossils, discovering the structure of DNA, and learning that mutations were the driving cause of evolution. Darwin set sail on his Beagle, so it's his boat, to survey the southern seas, and he particularly looked at these collections of islands called the Galapagos Islands to collect plants and animals and study how evolution formed. So he proposed this theory of natural selection. So write down this key term. This occurs because genetic diversity gives rise to variation within a population. So individuals with variation provide an advantage in a given environment and are more likely to survive and reproduce than others. And it's heritable. So individuals who have these advantageous genes can pass them on to their offspring. As a result, the frequency of advantageous genes will increase over many generations. So here on Galapagos Islands, he noticed that the finches had different beak widths and different beak shapes. And he was wondering why this was. It was because each of these finches had different diets, and the shapes of these beaks were adapted to their diets. So some of them ate like really round seeds, and they didn't really need a very pointy beak to get it, while some of them ate worms that were present in the soil, so they needed a very pointy beak in order to reach it. And this is adaptation, okay? So, natural selection operates continuously, and it can take place over billions of years. Here's what happens. I've kind of gone through this, but I'm going to go through it in a bit more detail. So each individual is different. I talked about this yesterday. We all are genetically different. The genetic diversity gives rise to variation. And when resources are limited and there's competition for resources, this is when this variation comes to play. Individuals with an advantage are more likely to survive and reproduce. This is this concept called survival of the fittest. Then these individuals will actually survive and reproduce, and the other ones will not. So this variation is inherited and passed on to offspring. So then the offspring have these advantages. And this gets passed on and passed on. Over time, these changes become dominant in a population. This is what you are going to be focusing on. There's a worksheet. You are going to be investigating rabbits. Please make sure you really read through the instructions in the worksheet, otherwise you will not understand what to do. This is also a reading comprehension exercise and also a natural selection investigation. Here's an example. So in this park in Mozambique, we have the emergence of tuskless elephants. So in the 70s to the 90s, a civil war in Mozambique led to the intense hunting of elephants for their ivory, and it was sold on the international markets. This resulted in a 90% decline. Tuskless elephants are natural but rare, and they do occur. So this elephant, predominantly or beforehand, would have had a tusk, but they do occur in nature where they don't have them. Now you will see that there are a lot of tuskless elephants present in this area. We've already talked about what a species is. We've already talked about how to name them. Now, speciation is the generation of new species through evolution. So basically, you get to a point where these changes will develop so drastically over time that a new species will form. And that is what speciation is. So it takes place when a species becomes isolated and it adapts in different ways to their environment. Over time, they become unable to interbreed with other populations and thus evolve into a new species. In Australia and New Zealand, we have some unique endemic species, so species only present in Australia because of speciation. This type of speciation is called geographical. We are geographically isolated from the rest of the world, so all the species have not been able to interbreed with organisms far away, so we have got new species forming. You do not need to know this, but my HL students do. So, reproductive isolation is the fancy term that I'm using for not being able to breed. Okay? Now, this is an exam style question. Outline how the process of natural selection is a mechanism for evolution. When you are answering these exam style questions, I would like you to get into the habit of planning what your response would be and then writing your actual response. So if I was planning this, I have to outline the process of natural selection and how this contributes to evolution. So things I would say is, what is natural selection? I would need to mention that there is natural variation in a population due to mutations. This allows, in the event of a disturbance, for certain individuals to succeed or survive. This will then pass, or these traits will be passed on to offspring, which can lead to new species developing. Okay? This is how you would write this. These are some possible answers, okay? Organisms in a population vary. That's because of mutations. Some traits make them better adapted to survive. Thus, organisms may respond to by adapting, and a new species may form. I kind of like my trajectory of the answer. You would then write this out in full sentences. Okay, so now you are going to have a go at the worksheet that I provided you with. It's the first worksheet and it says natural selection. Okay, you also need your laptops to then put in this link and answer the questions there. Okay, bye-bye.